Hi, Michael. How old were you when you first learned you had bipolar disorder type 1?
I was 26.
Wow. And what did you know about it at the time?
Next to nothing.
So, can you tell the audience what is bipolar type 1?
The big thing with bipolar type 1 is you have to have had a manic episode. You have to have had mania for basically 7 days or more. What does that look like? Um, that's that's a period of time in which your brain is on hyperdrive. You're creating thoughts in the air, and they aren't connecting together. So it's a flood of ideas. A lot of times it's not very logical, and you get just grandiose thoughts. A lot of times you'll be spending money out of control. It's a period of time where you don't sleep much at all. Sleep is not a very important part of it. And you basically have a break from reality. It can be as bad as what the doctors call psychosis.
So, when you first had your first episode, what were the initial symptoms?
So I think the big one was sleep. I was not sleeping at all. If I did, it would be just to close my eyes. But I was just going day after day after day without any rest. I was very agitated, speaking very quickly. Um, I, uh, I I was not making a lot of sense. Um, I was throwing things out that were valuable, like my watch and other things like that.
Wow. So, did you recognize those as symptoms?
I did not. I was having a great time. I thought this was just woo, let's go.
Michael, we've talked previously about the manic breaks. Could you explain what a break is in more detail?
So a break is really that period of time where you are no longer making sense. You're not connecting the dots, so to speak. If you know the color red is over there and you see it as blue, it's that different in terms of reality.
So, how did you learn then that you were having a break from reality?
So I didn't really realize any of that until I spoke with the doctor. Even speaking with my therapist didn't convince me that anything was really wrong. She was very concerned, but I had to speak with a psychiatrist. And it was very important to me to speak with the best psychiatrist in New York. Yeah, I was in bad shape.
Jeez. Well, you mentioned your parents. How did your family react?
They were actually rock stars. Um, my parents had been through a lot of this already with my brother. At age 16, he went into the psych ward in New York, and uh, he was hospitalized for basically 4 years. Um, and so they had a lot of experience working with the doctors, working with medication, understanding what the doctors were saying, understanding what questions to ask, how to approach the doctor to get the information they needed, and how to help me treat myself. Because the one thing that my doctor in New York was able to do was treat me outside of the hospital.
When did you know that this was more than a one time event?
We spoke about it during my first treatment. My doctor was very concerned that I was having such a massive mania, um, and felt that it's possible that this could be a one-time event. He wanted to track me over the next year to see what was going to happen. Um, I recovered pretty well, and was able to go back to work in California. Um, but a year later, I ended up having a second break.
And so, what was that second break like?
It was horrible. I had all kinds of problems. I was looking for my friends out on the boats in Marina del Rey, and none of them had boats. Um, the police came, took me in handcuffs, took me to the hospital, um, found out that I had insurance. And so they took me from the county facility to a private facility in Santa Monica. And I was hospitalized there for 3 months. I went through lockdown. I was in a padded room. I was on a table with restraints. I was in restraints for weeks at a time. Um, I was aggravated. I took on 3 security guards at one point, kicked a hole in the wall. Um, it was pretty brutal.
Wow. Well, now that you've lived with bipolar disorder type 1 for almost 30 years, um, I'm sure you've learned a lot about it since those first couple of episodes. How would you best describe your bipolar disorder?
You know, everybody's different. Um, I have really, really hard manias. Um, and in between, I have what they call hypomania. And they are, occasions where my my emotions just vomit out, and I, get aggravated, irritable, pressured. And that can happen at the drop of a dime. If somebody says the wrong thing to me, if I feel like I'm being put on a deadline, all these things can trigger hypomania. And what has to happen, I have to treat that. Um, and I've been given tools like Ativan and Zyprexa, which are really heavy duty tranquilizers, um, to take that edge away. Now, I don't I
So,
don't want to I don't want to like also let you think that I don't have depression, because that's another side of it that um, it's it's just not as visual. I mean, I think people can see the depression if they know me, but it's something that just sort of sits there unnoticed a lot of the time, and it's really a feeling of lowness and sadness and not being able to get stuff done.
interesting. So then between the manic urge and the depression, what triggers that shift in mood?
So I think the mania is more visual. Like, you can tell that I'm kicking into a mania, and you can point to some of the things that set that off, right? But when you come out of mania, there's a natural depression that goes on. I think it's your body almost recoiling from the mania, and you go into a period of healing where your body is just not able to process the the mass mania anymore. And there are occasions where the depression has its own trigger, um, and I think you can be really irritable, and that just makes depression that much more deep, if that makes sense.
Then in between those episodes, how have you managed yourself between episodes?
So the big thing I do is religiously see my doctors. Um, the other big thing I do is take my medicine. Um, I think, if anybody's listening to this, medicine makes a difference. um, and so I do take that on a religious basis every night. My doctors, I see my therapist once a week, and my psychiatrist, it depends. Sometimes it's once every 3 months. Sometimes it's once a month. Sometimes it's a couple of weeks. It just depends on where we're at with the medication, because sometimes it needs to change. And based on the severity of my mood. We work on medications to make that fix work.
As far as family goes, how can your family members engage, or how can somebody's family members engage when your mood is spiraling?
So it's important to communicate. Um, if a family member notices something that's a little askew, um, I've been able to get people to talk to me. Um, I am not afraid of what is going on. So if somebody sees something that's different, I would rather them tell me than ignore it. Just, oh, that's just Michael. Like, if I'm aware of something, I can make internal corrections to try and get back on track. Or I can take medication to get back on track. I can go take a nap and get back on track. If I haven't slept, knowing that I need sleep, just a little nudge and I know.
When somebody is hospitalized, what are some of the most important things that a family member can do?
I think again, it's communicate, communicate, communicate. If you notice something, it's important to communicate with the person that has the illness. This is what's going on. If you know a doctor, talk to the doctor. If there's a hospital that you're going to have to go to, try and prepare the patient for the hospital.
So, as a family member, how would I know if you had a manic episode building?
Jolie tells me she can see it in my eyes, that my left eye will go off into the distance, that my pupils will dilate. And she can just tell that something is going on that is not normal. I think you have to really know somebody very, very well to be able to make that discernment. But once you have that, intimate understanding, it is possible to see early warning signs.
So, are there any last thoughts that you'd like to mention?
The shame part of this is really understated. And it is so important for people that are fighting this to feel connected to society and understand that this is just a part of them. It's not who they are. Um, Having a bipolar disorder is not the end of the world, uh, but it is difficult, and it makes things more difficult to get through. Um, I was able to get 2 master's degrees with this illness, and it's not easy. I've tried and tried and tried. I've had to stop and start and stop and start. I couldn't do it all at once, but I persisted and I made it through.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's really inspirational. So, final question: as you're building out the audience for this channel, what are some of the things that viewers can do to get the word out?
Share and subscribe. I think it's really important that everybody that is interested in this share this with people that are also interested. It's a very specific topic. It's very sensitive information, but I really hope that I can help in some way, shape, or form the people that are struggling with this illness.
Great. Well, thank you again, Michael, for taking the time to educate me and provide some resources for other people who also have the disorder and their friends and family as well.